Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of AskDproS Business, where we bring business owners, entrepreneurs on the show for them to come on the show, to share their journey, their story as well. On this particular episode, I've got Faris. Faris started his career as a school teacher. From there progressed to helping businesses, improve their effectiveness, which is great. And Faris on this show, we always start from the beginning, which means telling us how the journey started for you. How did it all begin?
Hey, thanks, Kes, and it's great to join you on today's podcast. God, where did the journey begin? Well, I guess in the professional sense, like you said, I started as a school teacher. But everyone's journey begins long before that. We're shaped by our childhoods and that. But my first proper job was as a school teacher when I left university. And I was teaching my degree, and I used to teach high school maths and economics. So two subjects you can imagine, Kes, that were either very popular or not popular at all, students. I don't know if you like those subjects, but I can tell you that there's a lot of children out there that do not like mathematics, and that's okay, right? So yeah, I began as a school teacher, and I taught in different countries around the world, and it was a very enjoyable experience. But I decided I wanted to grow in my career and try something else, and I moved over to the business world, and I joined an energy company. And when I joined this energy company, I worked all across the different divisions in the business because I joined as a graduate on their graduate scheme, sort of development scheme. And I eventually found myself in their strategy team, where I discovered I really loved solving problems, strategic problems for companies. And after that began a new chapter in my career after spending several years at the energy company. And I became a strategy consultant, which I did for 12 years, really loved. And then 3 years ago, I decided I should set up my own consulting firm. And that's what I'm doing today, Kes.
Yeah, that's nice, Faris. Nice journey. But in start of business, we always have this thing. Oh, there's kind of this motivation behind it. But for you, did you have in your mind that you're going to be going to business? Because I know teaching is a real career profession. You understand? And
Yeah.
and it's something that maybe if you make up your mind doing teaching, something that you probably want to be in a long time. But for you, doing business, was that how did that come about?
Do you know what? Business was always the passion. My dad was a businessman. He ran his own company, and it really inspired me. And I think teaching was kind of like a bit of an adventure for me. Like I said in my previously, actually through teaching, I managed to live and travel to lots of different countries. So in some ways, I used teaching as a vehicle to have a sense of adventure. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy my teaching days, but I think I knew deep down it wasn't going to be my career, and that really became clear to me when I ended up teaching in a school that it was more about crowd management. It was a very tough school, and I realized at that point, unless you're passionate for something, it's very tough to do it day in, day out. And so I went to explore my passion, which I knew deep down was business. But you can say business, but there's so many aspects of business, Kez. There's business development, there's business growth, there's do you like managing people? Do you like winning work? Do you like analyzing numbers? There's so much to business. It's hard to just say I like business. So even when I said I want to get into business, there was loads of different parts of it for me to still discover, and there were loads more adventures for me to still undertake.
Yeah. And you just mentioned numbers now, and I know that you're a math teacher as well, which is an economics as well. But how did that help your business journey? Being a math teacher as well.
So I think being able to look at numbers and understand them is very important to business. But even before then, looking to use numbers is very important. What I mean by that is so many businesses don't lead by fact, right? They make decisions based on assumptions or their own personal preferences without looking at what are the numbers telling us? What is the data telling us? So a company might say, look, this is a really good idea. Customers will buy this because we just really believe they'll really love it. But when they look at the numbers, no customers are buying it. But they still carry on because they have this belief. So I think growing up and being comfortable with numbers, means I can look at them and understand them. But B, my first instinct is to look for numbers to back up, look for the facts, look for the numbers, and then we'll be in a much better place.
Yeah. You're right. Absolutely right. Having the right numbers in business is great. And business, for you to be in business, you have to make the right numbers. Like you make money as well. But starting as an entrepreneur, there's always this thing of, okay, how am I going to make money? How's the money going to come in? And that if you want to be in business, the numbers have to be right. You have to make the right money as well. For you, starting out, bringing the numbers together and making the right pay as well. Was that like did that have like a fear factor to you starting your business?
Completely, right? I could say now to you, Kes, my first year in business was terrible, absolutely terrible. Right? I started 6 months before COVID, and what that meant is, I had 6 months of a bit of work, and then 6 months of absolutely no work whatsoever. Okay. And my brain was going, this is the terrible decision. Why did you set up this company? Not just me. People around me were saying, look, this is a terrible decision. Why did you do this? But you know what? There was no different decision because I'd made it. I couldn't turn back at that point. But what gave me comfort is before I started my company, I wrote down on a piece of paper what the worst case scenario was. And what I wrote down on that piece of paper that I would often look at was my worst case scenario was earn zero money in year one. And I said to myself, before I even started, before I knew about COVID, would I be comfortable if that happened? If it was a development year, if it was a year that I used to build the business without winning any work. And I said to myself, I looked at my finances and I said, I can do that. I will accept 1 year as it's an absolute worst case. That's not what I'm aiming for. But if that happens, I can do it. And because I'd written that on a piece of paper and I looked at it, the fact that I'd already had 6 months of a little bit of work meant I was already better than the worst case position that I had imagined in my head. So that gave me comfort. Even when I was stressing out and when I was worried, how am I going to grow this business? I still could take comfort, and that kept me calm to some degree. So that first year was terrible, but I survived, and the second year was good. Third year was even better, and I look forward to the fourth year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess you also had the right strategies as well, because in business we have to, strategize and let's say put all the pieces together, like a game of chess as well, But in business, I know emotional intelligence is very, very, very important. It's key as well, having that, starting your business and running your business as well, But for you, how did you factor that in, having that emotional intelligence to manage the people you work with, because managing people is very important as well, and strategizing as well, How important is emotional intelligence, in building a brand, a business?
I mean, for me, emotional intelligence is one of the most important things for a business. In fact, my whole company is set around helping bring more emotional intelligence into other businesses. That's what I consult on. And the reason being is I spent 12 years seeing great ideas just stay on a piece of paper because there wasn't emotional intelligence. There wasn't the ability to get other people excited about the ideas, the ability to explain ideas to other people, the ability to get to look at what other people need and to meet their needs and to flex. That's what emotional intelligence for me means, and what I teach and what I help companies with. You imagine, Kes, the most people-y person you've ever met. That's what great emotional intelligence is. So it is absolutely important for me, both in terms of what I go and help companies with, but how I build my own company. When I interact with my customers, I try and do it with as much emotional intelligence as possible. I try and understand what's going on in their world and talk in their language. And I do the same with my, my own company, my team, my staff, people that I work with, to make it more comfortable for them, make it more enjoyable, and to get the best out of them. So yeah, it's one of the most important things for me.
Yeah, great. And building your business as well, managing people as well is key. You have to have the right, mindset to do that. Having said that, what is branding to you, in building your business, and growing as a business owner as well.
What is branding?
It could be personal branding or business branding.
Yeah. So I created a brand. My company's called Shiageto. It's a brand that nobody will have ever heard of. Okay. Look, I've even got a mouse mat with the name. So I've got things that've got the brand on it. But let's be honest. There's 7 billion people in this world. Probably 6.9999999 billion have never heard of Shiageto. So what is a brand when you're a small business? A brand is you. Okay, is what you bring to the table. So I start off saying, look, nobody's going to hear of Shiageto, nobody's going to Google it, but they are going to know me. So if I go out and be me and exploit what makes me, and I think this is true for every small business owner, nobody can possibly copy being you, all the relationships you have, all the things that you do. So go and do it the best you can. And what that means for me is I go out and talk to people about the relationship I have with them. And that's what builds my company. If you look at all the people you've met in your life, you have a connection with them. So go and talk about that connection. Go and talk about it warmly. Go and build that up. And that's how people, if they liked working with you, will remember you. And that's where my work comes from. So Shiageto's brand is my brand to start with. And after 3 years, what I realize is people begin to buy into Shiageto. So it's beginning to gain some traction. So I used my brand initially to build up my company brand. And I continue to reinforce that. And I can imagine for several years, it'll still be my brand, but then at some point it'll switch over to my company's brand. Because it's about that warm feeling you give somebody when they think of you or they think of your company.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also have to be relatable as well, in creating that brand, And going into business is one thing, picking your business name is another thing as well, Now,
Yeah.
Shiageto, how did you come off that name, How did you come about that name? Because it's such a unique name. I've never heard it before anyway. Until I met you. So
well, it's a Japanese word. It's a Japanese, and I'm not Japanese. I have no connection to Japan.
So why the name?
Well, I was thinking of a company name. I was going through lots of ideas in my head, Kirsten, and I thought of lots of English words. And every time I looked up, was there a website there? It had already been taken, right? It's amazing how many websites have already been taken out there. So I went away and I started thinking in other languages. Now I'm lucky enough to speak Arabic and I speak Spanish, and I came up with some Arabic and Spanish words. And I was talking to a friend one day and I was trying out some of those names that I came up with. And I said to him, look, I'm thinking of these names in Arabic. And he just turned around and said to me, do you know what? Those are great names, but when I listen to them, I think that your company sounds like it's a terrorist. Which made me laugh, but was good feedback. So I decided, okay, I think I've got to think of another word, another language. So then one day I was in my kitchen, I was making some dinner, and I have a set of Japanese knives, and the knife wasn't cutting my piece of meat. Okay, so I went to sharpen it. Now I have a knife sharpener, stone, yeah, and I was beginning to sharpen it, and I stopped, and I thought, do you know what? This is a metaphor for my company. My company is like this stone. I sharpen other companies. What is the Japanese word for a sharpening stone? And when I Googled it, do you know what word came up?
Your name, your business name.
Shiageto. So a Shiageto is the finest sharpening stone that you use to make sure that your knife or your pair of scissors or any instrument is super sharp. And that's what my company does for other companies.
Yeah, nice, man. I like that analogy, and it sounds so small and so easy as well, And I always ask, all business owners that come on the show, entrepreneurs as well that come on the show,
Yeah.
about, we all make this thing of these whole things sound so easy because, oh, okay, I've done it, it sounds so easy, but I know they would have prepared me some constraints or some, some difficulties along the way, for you, what was most difficult, transiting from being a teacher and starting your own business?
I think the hardest thing was the loneliness. The number one thing about starting a business for me was I went from being in a company surrounded by hundreds of other people who support you every day to being on my own and having to rely on myself for my motivation, for my mindset. When good things happen, there's nobody to celebrate with. When bad things happen, there's nobody to say it's okay. Right? It's very, very tough to be the sole person in charge of everything and to support yourself. So that's the thing. That's the number one thing I found the hardest when I set up.
Yeah. It could be also be, it could also be a very like deep and lonely thing as well. Very deep. And having that, like you said, having someone tell you, oh, it's okay, everything's gonna be fine. And that often, sometimes, from speaking to other people as well, sometimes it can lead to you, quitting your dream, or staying there and fighting for it as well. Depends on your why as well, and how much you believe in what you want to do. But for you, what would you say success is? Success in business or success in everything we do. What is that thing? What is your own definition of being successful in business or any other thing you do?
So for me, and it'll be different for everyone, right? For me, there is two key things, right? One is how much I'm growing and learning. That's, the reason I set up a business was to continue to grow and learn, to work with new clients, new industries, learn new things and apply them. And the second thing is how much fun I'm having. Right? And it's not just me, it's my team as well, right? Fun is the only thing that we measure in my business. So once a week, we ask the question, how much fun did we have this week? And we measure it. And then we look over time, how much fun we're having. And you know what? The more fun we have, the more money we make. It's a weird thing. But when you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, that flows through to people you work with. They want to work with you more, right? It makes you make better decisions. It makes you turn up and give 10% more in a meeting or thing. So as long as I'm having fun and continuing to grow, then that's success for me.
Yeah, really, great, great answer, Faris. And I see you having fun as well, and you agree, But if we're given a chance to go back, and correct things, and probably make different decisions that you made in the past, what would that be for you?
Oh, where do we start? We don't have long enough, Kes. There's been many times I've been too stubborn. I've not paid enough attention. I've focused on the wrong things. There's loads of things. Now, the key is we're all going to make mistakes, right? When I was a younger man, I got really irritated by mistakes. But you know what? Now, mistakes are great because they're feedback. As long as you see they're a mistake, they're one thing you've learned and you can close down. You're not going to do again. So bring on the mistakes, right? Because that helps me become a better person. That helps my company become a better. Yeah, they're painful. Yeah, I'm going to sit there and regret or think about them. But the more I make of them, here's the other thing: the better I get at getting through the mistakes and getting over them emotionally. A long time ago, someone taught me about a technique called failure anniversaries. Have you heard of a failure anniversary, Kes?
No, I'm not heard that.
So imagine something goes wrong. Maybe it could be something big, like you go for a job and you don't get it. It could be something small, like you screw up in a meeting or something. Now, if it irritates you, as soon as it happens, open up your diary and put in a meeting with yourself for 3 months or 6 months or a year in the future. and call it a failure anniversary to celebrate that failure. And what happens is you get to the anniversary, and by the time you get there, whatever seemed like a really big problem is less of a problem. And you can look back and say, I can't believe that 3 months ago or 6 months ago or 12 months ago, this was really a big problem for me. Look how far I've come in the thing. And what's even better, when you start doing this regularly, say you've had a big problem that day, and then 2 days later, you look in your diary, you've got a failure anniversary for something that happened a year ago. It reminds you, look, a year ago, I thought I'd screwed up. I thought I'd had the biggest mistake of my life. But look, here I am still doing really well. So this one is not going to be a problem because the one a year ago wasn't a problem. So it's a great technique that really sort of liberates you from looking at things really badly to saying, actually, these are the things that really make me. I've got through this before, I can get through it again.
I think failure is one of those things that, using myself as an example, failure is something that, I was kind of like scared of, like, okay, if I start this podcast, how far am I going to go with this? Am I going to get guests, and, kept on procrastinating, how am I going to start this? Who's going to come on the show? Am I going to get guests? So the failure thing kept coming into my head, like, okay, Kes, you're probably going to fail with this, and my fears as well, so all that was going through my head, but if you want to give like a message to an upcoming entrepreneur or a business owner to say, like, okay, this is how I've done it and this is how you can do it, what is that encouraging thing you want to say to anybody that want to start a business?
I think you give it a go, right? The more you get out there, the more you try it, the better you'll become. Look at it like a skill. Look at it like anything that you've done in the past, like learning to play a sport or an instrument. Something. We're all rubbish when we start. All right, so don't be afraid to just give it a go, and surround yourself with people that support you. Okay, there'll be plenty of people who'll say no, but the great people are the ones who give you the support when you need it, both emotionally and business led, and they're the people to seek when things go wrong, right? Because you will have some difficulties, but the sooner you pick yourself up, the better you'll be.
Yeah, and to add to that, we also learn how to shake so many hands in the room, network, meet different people to help us as well, build relationships, also being relatable as well, but for in saying that, for you, what would you say, legacy is, like your journey, your part, from being a teacher, now you have a business, and you're thinking about, okay, I'm running this business, I'm working with so many people, what is that thing I want to leave behind? What is that thing that I want them to remember me for? For you, what is that legacy that you want to leave behind?
I mean, that's a great question, right? I think it's the Maya Angelou quote, right? People won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did, they'll remember how you made them feel. And I get reminded of that all the time. I was a school teacher 20 years ago, Kes. Some of the students I taught now are, partners in law firms or senior doctors. They still email me and say, I remember you as my school teacher. And that's so powerful. They say nice things. I have some of my clients today were people I trained 15 years ago who are now senior in companies, and they ring me up and say, I really enjoyed working with you 15 years ago. Now I'm the boss. I want you to work with my juniors. So if you can, I think a great legacy is if you can make people feel great and remember you, you can't ask for any more.
Yeah, that's so emotional, man. And I think we can just close the show now. It's true, man. It makes you that feeling. The feeling is great. When people kind of like appreciate you. Appreciate what you've done. Like because you were relatable, like you were nice to them or have that empathy as well, love as well, and teaching them as well, and they loved what you did for them in the past. They tend to remember, which is absolutely great. I think that's one of the reasons, I'm also on this part as well. Even if it's one person that listens to my show, to you, to what you said, and they learn one thing from what you said, it's a done deal for me. So at least helping people out there, like someone that needs help, that want to start a business, can just probably listen to one of my episodes. I said, I listened to Faris and he said this, and this thing, I'll hold on to this thing for a long time, and it's great, it's great when you have that sense of, what's the word, sense of, belonging, that people actually, appreciate you, as it's good. Great.
And do you know what? 90% of that, 95% of that, you'll never know. You may be impacting people's lives, but you won't know. And occasionally they will reach out and tell you, but the rest, you still impacted their lives, and they just don't, you won't know for circumstances. Just the other day, I'll give you an example. I was sitting. Are you on LinkedIn, Kes?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah,
you're on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, right? I was sitting there, and I have a lot of people I'm connected on LinkedIn, and suddenly I got a ping, and there was a message in LinkedIn. And it was from one of my loose connections, someone I don't really know. I've met a couple of, I've talked to once, who said, look, I just wanted to let you know that I've been reading your blogs every week. I write a blog every week. And he said, and I enjoy them so much. I've just started a MBA. I recommended them to the teacher, and now we all read your blogs every week. And I just wanted to let you know, in case you wondered why your blog numbers were going up. Now, this is someone I've spoken to once in my life, and he took the time to say, look, I really appreciate what you're doing, and I just wanted to tell you that.
Wow, that's great, man. That's great.
It's such a nice feeling. So, but there'll be other people who don't tell you that, but you're still helping them in that.
Yeah. That's great. It's been a wonderful show, and I'm taking a lot from the show as well, But for us to go, what is that thing that you want to say, leave people with on the show? People that will be watching it, people that will be watching the show, people that will listen to it as well. Like someone that want to start business from scratch, entrepreneurs as well, business owners. What is that one thing you want to leave them with? I know you've dropped a lot of nuggets and gems on the show already, but what is that one thing?
Hey, I think I said before, just give it a go. I think building on your own story, Kes, there are a lot of you'll have a lot of stories in your own head, a lot of assumptions that will tell you no. Look for the reasons that are yes, give it a go, because you'll thank those yeses way more than the nos when it comes to the future and you look back at your life. So, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, what's the worst that can happen? Nice. So if you guys want to reach you, where's the best place?
Yeah, well, if people want to reach me, they can check out my company website, which is www.shiageto.com, and Shiageto is SHIAGETO. Or as we just said, I'm on LinkedIn. That I spend a lot of time there, so people can look me up, Faris Aranki, and we can carry on the conversation. Send me a message, drop me a line, and I'd love to speak to each and every one of your listeners.
Yeah, absolutely, Faris. And I want to thank you for coming on the show. I'm also grateful as well.
Thank you, Kes.
Thanks, man. Nice. Great show. Nice. I love it.